I'm going to restore this key. I found it in my garden whilst renovating a driveway. It was about 2 feet below the surface and it dates to the 18th century. So I'm going to date it at around 1750. It's George II, so it's 270 years old and it looks it. It needs restoration. So what I need to do is try and unearth some of this rust and grime. This is the blade of the key, the bit that goes into the lock. And I'm trying to literally cut out the cuts of the shapes to the blade. I need to do this without causing any damage, of course. I mean, this is iron, 270 years old, and it's going to be a bit brittle after being in the ground for so long. So just digging in. You've got to put a bit of force in. You know, temptation is to be gentle, but you can't. You've got to put a bit of pressure in there. If it all goes wrong, it goes wrong. But I need to reveal those cuts. I need to reveal the shape of the blade. It's a good weight, this thing. It's still heavy. Put a brush on it, see if some of it will just kind of flake away. It often does. But if you look at the shape of the key, you'll see it's very carbuncly, you know, look like barnacles here, and they're solidified, I suppose, if that's the right word, over the years. And the rust is literally as hard as the iron. So I'm going to pick away at it. It's tough. Some of it, you can see that some of the rust is coming off, but most of it is really, it's now forming just part of the key. You know, after spending 270 years or so underground, these things happen. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and scrape it off. Again, I'm always worried that it's going to be brittle and possibly snap. Okay, I'm going to have to get a little bit drastic here. Still worried it's going to snap with too much pressure. So we're going to bathe it in rust remover. I'm going to use a really simple product here. It's Hammerite, so it's a good, well-known brand. It's rust remover. And what you do here is you actually dilute it with 1 part Hammerite and 9 parts water, and then you leave it overnight. So a very simple process. Just make sure that you wear gloves and absolutely wear at least glasses, if not goggles, because you don't want this stuff splashing in your eyes. So if you remember, it's 9 parts water and 1 part Hammerite. A little bit of recycling here. It's an old egg cup. I don't know, it's probably 80 years old or something like that, but I use it for measuring. So you've got a little egg at the top, little chicken egg, and maybe a duck egg at the base, but the small chicken egg measure will be perfect. So 9 of these, 9 waters. And 1 measure of Hammerite. Get it into the water and give it a really good mix. And the best thing to mix it with, of course, is the key. Why not? And it's that blade there, isn't it? That's the thing I really need to bring to life. So just really good mix. And drop the key in. Leave it overnight, 12 hours or so. There you go. Okay, so I've turned it around a bit. a few times over the hours, but it's been in there for a good 12 hours. Colour's changed a little bit. And there are some flaky bits of rust, which is a good sign. Now, what I'm going to do is pick the thing up and see if anything changes. Give it a scrape. You can see a bit more outline. Yeah, bits are coming off. Still feels utterly rock hard. You see, the thing with things that have been underground for less time, it's likely that the Hammerite rust remover would really loosen the big chunks, those carbuncles, and you could kind of pick them off. But it doesn't seem that way with this one. We'll delve in, see if we can get some bits off it. See a few flakes floating around there. Wow, it's absolutely rock. Now, here we go. So the rust remover's really loosened the rust within the gaps here. That's good. Might get a bit of a shape of the blade. The keys. That's nice. I'm just wondering. Is that two? I think that's two keys on the blade, separate keys. I mean, that looks like one piece of iron, but there's a definite groove here. I'll tell you what, let's get it out and have a good look at it after half a day submerged in rust remover. It's still like one solid piece of iron, isn't it? Nothing obvious. Oh, no. A little hole there. Possibly I might be able to get a little pick inside there. All right, I think we're going to have to pick away at this. I'll just dry it off first. Actually, let's get the wire brush on it first, see if we can loosen some of that top layer. Oh yeah. Bits coming off, bits of rust coming off there. Not exactly breaking the carbuncles, but it's taking the top layer off. Might give it a nice colour actually, good sheen. I do like the colour of ancient rusted iron. There's a certain patination it gains over time. And actually at the end of this, I'll show you what you can do with old metal. Iron, steel, bronze even, with a very inexpensive product just to give it a really good lustre. Because this thing really is going to be a piece of art. You know, seriously, it's going to be a little bit of sculpture, a thing, a touch piece, a talking piece. If I can reveal the cuts there in the blade. I've done this before, and as I'm wire brushing, big chunks of rust come off, but it just doesn't seem to be happening with this thing. Of course, remember made, 270 years ago, in the days when things were made to literally last forever. Nobody had invented this idea of stuff breaking after a few years and then buying another one from halfway around the planet. No, these things are made to last forever. Let's dig in. This is testament, really, isn't it, to quality. Now, that's nice. So the rust remover has softened this area. Wow, that's nice. Let's pick away. It does feel rock solid. It really does, I must say. I'm relatively confident that it's not going to shatter in my hands. It just feels it. There should be a hole there. Okay. This is a great little tool, this thing, actually for watchmaking, bizarrely. But really good. Oh, oh. There you go. First hole through. Right. That is brilliant. Go on. Sorry, the camera seems to be focusing in here. I'm doing everything at the same time. So it's going a bit blurry in places, so forgive me for that. There's a big chunk in between there. Wow. Go on. Yeah, there we are. There we are. Coming away nicely. Something mightily satisfying about doing this kind of work. Revealing something, wow, that hasn't looked a bit like this in a couple of centuries maybe. Look at that. Oh, that's nice. It's kind of very therapeutic doing things like this. Very satisfying. As long as it doesn't go wrong, that is. Well, scraping is one thing, but now I need to give it some really good whacking. I can't do that, obviously, on my kitchen glass table. So I've taken the key outside on the stone wall. I'm going to give it a whack. I mean, it's a bit nerve-wracking, this. You can see the bits flying all over the place. I really need to open up this channel to reveal the two bits and to form that blade into a proper looking key. Tough as old boots, this thing. Remarkable, really. It's going to be honestly, a really lovely piece of sculpture. a really sweet, interesting piece of art, this. That is, connected to this house. It's been here for over 200 years. And it's only travelled a few feet in those 200 years. And I think that's fascinating. This is a direct connection, anything like this, direct connection to our ancestors, people long gone and long forgotten. It looks pretty much the same. They would recognise it if they were around today, those people from 200 years ago. And they knew this thing very well because obviously, for generations, it would have been used. So yeah, a little bit of time travel. Wow. I love this thing. Okay, not long to go, I don't think. This might just chip out. Let's have a look. Yeah, there it goes. It's got a lovely shape to it. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's lovely? Because I do actually think it's lovely. Let's see if we can get a little bit of colour. Nice little patination to it. Now, as I mentioned before, actually, I am going to treat it to something. I'll show you in a minute. You can easily do this with all kinds of metals to make everyday objects from the past like this into modern pieces of sculpture, ornaments. It's all about colour and patination. It's got it, hasn't it? It just wants to be enhanced. Look at that. You can't replicate that. It's impossible. It takes centuries for something to look like that. I just think it's beautiful. You can do all these little jobs at home. I mean, go to the DIY store and buy the rust remover, but screwdrivers, kitchen knives, you've got the stuff at home to do anything like this. Still rock hard, look at it. Oh, it's lovely. It's just utterly delicious. Couple of buffs and then I will give it a treatment just to maintain that colour and patination. That is just... Let me know what you think. Is it just me? I just think that's wonderful. I really do think that's wonderful. I might make a stand for it. In fact, I'm going to make a stand out of marble. I've got a load of scrap marble kicking around. But before I do that, I want to show you where the key came from. See that trench there? That's where I found the key, underneath an ancient couple of 100-year-old stable yard. So let me introduce you to a piece of marble. I'm going to whack it to bits. I'm just going to use a basic chisel and a hammer. In fact, the hammer's probably just better than the chisel, we'll see. And I'm not looking for perfection, by the way. I'm looking for anything other than perfection. I want to make this stand, look like a really old piece of found marble, I suppose. So what happens, oh, there you go. What happens. Let's see if that fits. It's a problem with marble. Will it fit? Yeah, that's fine. Why not? That's okay. Might overhang a little bit. But you see how sharp it is around the edges? It just looks too new. So I'm going to just dumb it down a bit around those edges. Make it look like it's been around for centuries. So sharp edges need to go. Let's have a look. Look at that. That will go. Simple enough. Yeah, that's good. You know, you can't be afraid of these things. Just get whacking away. What comes out, comes out. That's the interesting thing. Actually, what did Michelangelo say? Michelangelo said, I'm quite sure, something like this. I take a piece of marble and I carve until I reveal the angel. Well, I'm not going to reveal any angels, but I'm going to reveal a perfectly good, pretty grand and pretty posh looking stand for my found key. That's it. It's done. Takes no time at all. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to, well, see if the key fits, first of all. It fits fine. Overhangs a little bit. That's quite nice, actually. So I want to enhance the colour and the patination of the key, put the two items together, and then they're going to live in my living room. Okay, time for finishing touches now on the actual key itself. There you go, the stand is in place. So take a look at its patination. It's very nice anyway, you know that. I love it, but I'm going to enhance it using a traditional beeswax furniture polish. Now this is actually a product I made many years ago, but I sold out and I haven't got around to making any more, but it's really good. It's very expensive to make, a proper North Yorkshire special recipe, but it's lovely stuff. So there's no silicone in there, it's Canoba wax, beeswax, and it smells absolutely delicious. And you might be surprised to see that I'm using brown. You can use clear, but brown is just as good. And what happens, I'll show you. If you put it on your hand, it just rubs in. And so it doesn't really stain, but it gives a lovely warm patination to all metals, including leather, old boots, anything like that at all. So it's like a wonder product. So there we go. Use your fingers. Always best to use your hands. Really get a kind of a feel for the stuff. It's very tactile. It's very lovely. Yeah, just keep on rubbing. I'm going to show you a before and after in a second. Hang on a minute, this might all go wrong. No, there you go. Thank goodness for that. I put so much effort into this thing, that could have shattered. If it was really rubbish, it would have shattered. But of course, it was made to last forever. So rub it in, get a feel for it, enjoy that sensation. And it smells delicious. Some people say it's a bit of an aphrodisiac, that smell. Oh, I'm not saying anything at all, but it does smell absolutely delicious. And then just give it a good buff up. And there you have it, as restored as I want it to be, looking utterly delicious compared to this, as found in the garden. Not looking so good there, the kind of thing you throw away, but now, as it is genuinely going to be an ornament, a piece of sculpture, a talking piece in my living room. And talking about that, let's set it up and see what it looks like. There we have it. Look at that colour. On the marble stand, on a 19th century marble topped table. It's part of a collection of interesting things from all over the world. But my 18th century key comes from about 15 feet away, which I think makes it even more special. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm David Harper. Cheerio.